In our last episode, we were introduced to the renowned Mile Circus, the carnival-like entourage of Geoffrey Fourmyle of Ceres, an upstart flaunting his new wealth. Due to the fact that the war between the inner planets and the outer satellites has escalated and caused great hardship, stress, and tensions to the lives of those on Terra, people have avidly sought the escape of the outlandish, surreal world that the Mile Circus presented. We bore witness to the arrival and setup of his circus camp near Green Bay, Wisconsin, next to Lake Michigan, an event that attracted many locals and people from neighboring states, and to the absurd and clownish antics of Fourmyle himself, carried on both in and out of public view. After a flurry of ostentatious, creative, and ridiculous pursuits, Fourmyle banished all his attendants to be alone. At this point, it was revealed that Fourmyle is none other than Gully Foyle, and that his circus is an elaborate ruse, which allows him the freedom to pursue his secret agenda. In preparation to achieve his revenge, Foyle has adopted a yogic practice for extreme control over himself that maintains his socially acceptable face and has used his wealth to transform his body into a literal fighting machine. His teeth were now a control panel. Foyle jaunted to Robin Wensbury's apartment, the real reason for the visit to Green Bay, and found himself falling through a gaping hole in what had been her living room on the second floor. The building had been partially destroyed by fire. He discovered that the wreck of a building was occupied by several jack jaunters, scavengers who jaunt in packs to find and strip such wrecked locations and victimize whatever unfortunates may be there. Confronting the squatters didn't succeed in getting him information, so he had to resort to devious means in order to learn from the local records office the facts of the case and the whereabouts of Robin Wensbury. It turned out that she was in protective confinement at Mercy Hospital near the Iron Mountain Proving Grounds. Wondering why the protective confinement, Foyle used Fourmyle's entourage to create a diversion at the hospital as he located Robin under sedation and jaunted her away. Out on the hospital grounds, but sufficiently isolated, Foyle began conversing with Robin. Her telesending was uncontrolled as she broadcast her fear and bewilderment. He introduced himself as Fourmyle, and she recognized the name, thinking aloud his reputation as a vulgar buffoon. She apologized for her telesending. Assured that she did not recognize him, he then discovered the reason for her confinement. She had attempted suicide. She explained that she was on the Army's gray list, suspected, watched, reported, and had no job, no family, and no prospects. He offered her work, a generous salary, and to get her off the Army's list, saying that he wanted her to help him navigate the elite social circles for which he didn't have the skills. Her charm and ability to telesend were exactly what he needed, as she could guide him undetected. A dull sound of a distant explosion caused Foyle to lose his tight control. He felt himself back in Gouffre Martel, hearing a blue jaunt. Suddenly, his face betrayed his true identity. Realizing what had happened, Foyle covered Robin's mouth to muffle her screams and tried to explain. He admitted to her that indeed he is Foyle. Unable to convince her to calm down and stop screaming, he resorted to knocking her unconscious. Once she awoke, he explained the situation, all of it. He told her about his time on the ship Nomad, about Vorga, and about his quest for vengeance. He also told her that he believed her mother and possibly her sisters were somewhere in the inner planets, maybe even on Terra. He showed her a locket which clearly belonged to her mother and which had been pawned by a crewman from the Vorga. He explained that the Mile Circus and his buffoonery as Fourmyle was simply camouflage. He had calculated that he has at most 90 days before his identity is discovered, and so has limited time to accomplish his goal, finding the man who gave the order to pass by Nomad and leave him to die. This was really why he wanted her help. He didn't know where the investigation would lead. He didn't need help with the gutter crowd, but navigating high society was beyond his skills. He asked whether she would work with him for those 90 days. from New Year's to All Fool's Day, during which time they would together pursue their respective goals. Both involved locating and interrogating the crew members of Vorga. She let him know how much she hated and despised him, and warned that she would seek her own payback someday. But ultimately, she reluctantly agreed to work with him. Where will the investigation lead? What buried secrets will they uncover? Will Foyle be found out? Find out in Part 2, Episode 10 of The Stars, My Destination by Alfred Bester. On New Year's Eve, Geoffrey Fourmyle of Ceres made his onslaught on society. He appeared first in Canberra at the Government House Ball, half an hour before midnight. This was a highly formal affair, bursting with color and pageantry, for it was the custom at formals for society to wear the evening dress that had been fashionable the year its clan was founded or its trademark patented. Thus, the Morses, telephone and telegraph, wore 19th century frock coats, and the women wore Victorian hoop skirts. The Skodas, powder and guns, hark back to the late 18th century, wearing Regency tights and crinolines. The daring Peenemundas, rockets and reactors, dating from the 1920s, wore tuxedos, and the women unashamedly revealed legs, arms, and necks in the décolleté of antique Worth and Mainbacher gowns. Fourmyle of Ceres appeared in evening clothes, very modern and very black, relieved only by a white sunburst on his shoulder, the trademark of the Ceres clan. With him was Robin Wensbury in a glittering white gown, her slender waist tight and whalebone, the bustle of the gown accentuating her long, straight back and graceful step. The black and white contrast was so arresting that an orderly was sent to check the sunburst trademark in the Almanac of Peerages and Patents. He returned with the news that it was of the Ceres Mining Company, organized in 2250 for the exploitation of the mineral resources of Ceres, Palos, and Vesta. The resources had never manifested themselves, and the House of Ceres had gone into eclipse, but had never become extinct. Apparently, it was now being revived.
Fourmyle? Fourmyle the clown?
Yes, the Mile Circus. Everybody's talking about him.
Is that the same man?
Couldn't be. He looks human.
Society clustered around Fourmyle, curious but wary.
Here they come.
Relax. They want the light touch. They'll accept anything if it's amusing. Stay tuned.
That dreadful man with the circus, Fourmyle?
Sure you are. Smile.
I am, madam. You may touch me.
Why, you actually seem proud. Are you proud of your bad taste?
The problem today is to have any taste at all.
The problem today is to have any taste at all. I think I'm lucky.
Lucky, but dreadfully indecent.
Indecent, but not dull.
And dreadful, but delightful. Why aren't you cavorting now?
I'm under the influence, madam.
Oh dear, are you drunk? I'm Lady Shrapnel. When will you be sober enough?
I'm under your influence, Lady Shrapnel.
You wicked young man. Charles, come here and save Fourmyle. I'm ruining him.
That's Victor of RCA Victor.
Fourmyle, is it? Delighted. What's that entourage of yours cost?
Tell him the truth.
40,000, Victor.
Good Lord. A week?
A day.
A day? What on earth do you want to spend all that money for?
Truth.
For notoriety, Victor.
Ha! Are you serious?
I told you he was wicked, Charles.
Damned refreshing. Klaus, here a moment. This impudent young man is spending 40,000 a day. For notoriety, if you please.
Skoda of Skoda.
Good evening, Fourmyle. I am much interested in this revival of the name. You are perhaps cadet descendant of the original founding board of Ceres Inc.?
Give him the truth.
No, Skoda. It's a title by purchase. I bought the company. I'm an upstart.
Good. Toujours de l'audace.
My word, Fourmyle, you're frank.
Told you he was impudent. Very refreshing. There's a parcel of damned upstarts about, young man, but they don't admit it. Elizabeth, come and meet Fourmyle of Ceres.
Fourmyle, I've been dying to meet you.
Lady Elizabeth Citron.
Is it true you travel with a portable college?
The light touch here.
A portable high school, Lady Elizabeth.
But why on earth, Fourmyle?
Oh, madam, it's so difficult to spend money these days. We have to find the silliest excuses. If only someone would invent a new extravagance.
You ought to travel with a portable inventor, Fourmyle.
I've got one. Haven't I, Robin? But he wastes his time on perpetual motion. What I need is a resident spendthrift. Would any of your clans care to lend me a younger son?
Will any of us care to? There's many a clan will pay for the privilege of unloading.
Isn't perpetual motion spendthrift enough for you, Fourmyle?
No, it's a shocking waste of money. The whole point of extravagance is to act like a fool and feel like a fool, but enjoy it. Where's the joy in perpetual motion? Is there any extravagance in entropy? Millions for nonsense, but not 1 cent for entropy. My slogan.
They laughed, and the crowd clustering around Fourmyle grew. They were delighted and amused. He was a new toy. Then it was midnight, and as the great clock tolled in the new year, the gathering prepared to jaunt with midnight around the world.
Come with us to Java, Fourmyle. Regis Sheffield's giving a marvelous legal party. We're going to play Sober the Judge.
Hong Kong, Fourmyle.
Tokyo, Fourmyle. It's raining in Hong Kong. Come to Tokyo and bring your circus.
Thank you. No. Shanghai for me. The Soviet Domo. I promise an extravagant reward to the first one who discovers the deception of my costume. Meet you all in 2 hours. Ready, Robin?
Don't jaunt. Bad manners. Walk out. Slowly. Languor is chic. Respects to the governor. To the commissioner. Their ladies. Bien. Don't forget to tip the attendants. Not him, idiot. That's the lieutenant governor. All right. You made a hit. You're accepted. Now what?
Now, what we came to Canberra for.
I thought we came for the ball.
The ball and a man named Forrest.
Who's that?
Ben Forrest, spaceman off the Vorga. I've got 3 leads to the man who gave the order to let me die. 3 names. A cook in Rome named Paji, a quack in Shanghai named Orel, and this man, Forrest. This is a combined operation, society and search. Understand?
I understand.
We've got 2 hours to rip Forrest open. Do you know the coordinates of the Aussie cannery, the company town?
I don't want any part of your Voiger revenge. I'm searching for my family.
This is a combined operation every way.
He said it with such detached savagery that she winced and at once jaunted. When Foyle arrived in his tent in the 4 Mile Circus on Jervis Beach, she was already changing into travel clothes. Foyle looked at her. Although he forced her to live in his tent for security reasons, he had never touched her again. Robin caught his glance, stopped changing, and waited. He shook his head.
That's all finished.
How interesting. You've given up rape?
Get dressed. Tell them they've got 2 hours to get the camp up to Shanghai.
It was 12:30 when Foyle and Robin arrived at the front office of the Aussie Cannery Company town. They applied for identification tags and were greeted by the mayor himself.
Happy New Year. Happy. Visiting? A pleasure to drive you around. Permit me.
He bundled them into a lush helicopter and took off.
Lots of visitors tonight. Ours is a friendly town, friendliest company town in the world.
The plane circled giant buildings.
That's our ice palace. Swimming baths on the left. Big Dome is the ski jump. Snow all year round. Tropical gardens under the glass roof. Palms, parrots, orchids, fruit. There's our market. Theater. Got our own broadcasting company too. 3D, 5S. Take a look at the football stadium. 2 of our boys made All-American this year. Turner at right, Rockney, and Otis at left Thorpe.
Do tell.
Yes, sir, we've got everything. You don't have to jaunt around the world looking for fun. Aussie Cannery brings the world to you. Our town's a little universe. Happiest little universe in the world.
Having absentee problems, I see.
The mayor refused to falter in his sales pitch.
Look down at the streets. See those bikes, motorcycles, cars? We can afford more luxury transportation per capita than any other town on earth. Look at those homes, mansions. Our people are rich and happy. We keep them rich and happy.
But do you keep them?
What do you mean? Of course we...
You can tell us the truth. We're not job prospects. Do you keep them?
We can't keep them more than 6 months. It's a hell of a headache. We give them everything, but we can't hold on to them. They get the wanderlust and jaunt. Absenteeism's cut our production by 12%. We can't hold on to steady labor.
Nobody can.
There ought to be a law. Forest, you said? Right here.
He landed them before a Swiss chalet set in an acre of gardens and took off, mumbling to himself. Foyle and Robin stepped before the door of the house, waiting for the monitor to pick them up and announce them. Instead, the door flashed red, and a white skull and crossbones appeared on it. A canned voice spoke.
Warning! This residence is man-trapped by the Lethal Defense Corporation of Sweden, R7Z3. You have been legally notified.
What the hell? On New Year's Eve? Friendly fella. Let's try the back.
They walked around the chalet, pursued by the skull and crossbones flashing at intervals and the canned warning. At one side, they saw the top of a cellar window brightly illuminated and heard the muffled chant of voices.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want.
Cellar Christians.
Foyle and Robin peered through the window. 30 worshippers of assorted faiths were celebrating the new year with a combined and highly illegal service. The 24th century had not yet abolished God, but it had abolished organized religion.
No wonder the house is man-trapped. Filthy practices like that. Look, they've got a priest and a rabbi, and that thing behind them is a crucifix.
Did you ever stop to think what swearing is? You say Jesus and Jesus Christ. Do you know what that is?
Just swearing, that's all. Like ouch or dime?
No, it's religion. You don't know it, but there are 2,500 years of meaning behind words like that.
This is no time for dirty talk. Save it for later. Come on.
The rear of the chalet was a solid wall of glass, the picture window of a dimly lit, empty living room.
Down on your face. I'm going in.
Robin lay prone on the marble patio. Foyle triggered his body, accelerated into a lightning blur, and smashed a hole in the glass wall. Far down on the sound spectrum, he heard dull concussions. They were shots. Quick projectiles laced toward him. Foyle dropped to the floor and tuned his ears, sweeping from low bass to supersonic, until at last he picked up the hum of the man-trap control mechanism. He turned his head gently, pinpointed the location by binaural DF, wove in through the stream of shots, and demolished the mechanism. He decelerated.
Come in, quick.
Robin joined him in the living room, trembling. The cellar Christians were pouring up into the house somewhere, emitting the sounds of martyrs.
Wait here.
He accelerated, blurred through the house, located the cellar Christians in poses of frozen flight, and sorted through them. He returned to Robin and decelerated.
None of them is Forrest. Maybe he's upstairs. The back way while they're going out the front. Come on.
They raced up the back stairs. On the landing, they paused to take bearings.
Have to work fast. Between the shots and the religion riot, the world and his wife will be jaunting around asking questions.
A low mewling sound came from a door at the head of the stairs.
Analog. Must be Forrest. How about that? Religion in the cellar and dope upstairs.
What are you talking about?
I'll explain later. In here. I only hope he isn't on a gorilla kick.
Foyle went through the door like a diesel tractor. They were in a large, bare room. A heavy rope was suspended from the ceiling. A naked man was entwined with the rope midway in the air. He squirmed and slithered down the rope, emitting a mewling sound and a musky odor.
Python, that's a break. Don't go near him. He'll mash your bones if he touches you.
Voices below began to call.
Forrest, what's all the shooting?
Happy New Year, Forrest.
Where in hell's the celebration?
Here they come. Have to John him out of here. Meet you back at the beach. Go.
He whipped a knife out of his pocket, cut the rope, swung the squirming man onto his back, and jaunted. Robin was on the empty Jervis beach a moment before him. Foyle arrived with a squirming man oozing over his neck and shoulders like a python, crushing him in a terrifying embrace. The red stigmata suddenly burst out on Foyle's face.
Quick, girl! Right pockets! 3 over, 2 down! Sting ampule! Let him have it anyway!
His voice was choked off. Robin opened the pocket, found a packet of glass beads, and took them out. Each bead had a bee sting end. She thrust the sting of an ampule into the writhing man's neck. He collapsed. Foyle shook him off and arose from the sand.
Christ.
He massaged his throat and took a deep breath.
Blood and bowels. Control.
He resumed his air of detached calm. The scarlet tattooing faded from his face.
What was all that horror?
Analog. Psychiatric dope for psychotics. Illegal. A twitch has to release himself somehow. Revert back to the primitive. He identifies with a particular kind of animal. Gorilla, grizzly, brood bull, wolf. Takes the dope and turns into the animal he admires. Forrest was queer for snakes, seems as if.
How do you know all this?
Told you, I've been studying, preparing for Vorga. This is one of the things I learned. Show you something else I've learned if you're not chicken-livered. How to bring a twitch out of analog.
Foyle opened another pocket in his battle overalls and got to work on Forrest. Robin watched for a moment, then uttered a horrified cry, turned, and walked to the edge of the water. She stood, staring blindly at the surf and the stars, until the mewling and the twisting ceased, and Foyle called to her.
You can come back now.
Robin returned to find a shattered creature seated upright on the beach, gazing at Foyle with dull, sober eyes.
You're Forrest?
Who the hell are you?
You're Ben Forrest, leading spaceman, formerly aboard the Pristine Vorga.
Forrest cried out in terror.
You were aboard the Vorga on September 16th, 2436.
The man sobbed and shook his head.
On September 16, you passed a wreck out near the asteroid belt. Wreck of the Nomad, your sister ship. She signaled for help. Vorga passed her by, left her to drift and die. Why did Vorga pass her by?
Forrest began to scream hysterically.
Who gave the order to pass her by?
Jesus, no, no, no.
The records are all gone from the bonus and wig files. Someone got to them before me. Who was that? Who was aboard Vorga? Who shipped with you? I want officers and crew. Who was in command?
No, no.
Foyle held a sheaf of banknotes before the hysterical man's face.
I'll pay for the information. 50,000. Analog for the rest of your life. Who gave the order to let me die, Forrest? Who?
The man smote the banknotes from Foyle's hand, leapt up, and ran down the beach. Foyle tackled him at the edge of the surf. Forrest fell headlong, his face in the water. Foyle held him there.
Who commanded Vorga, Forrest? Who gave the order?
You're drowning him.
Let him suffer a little. Water's easier than vacuum. I suffered for 6 months. Who gave the order, Forrest?
The man bubbled and choked. Foyle lifted his head out of the water.
What are you? Loyal? Crazy? Scared? Your kind would sell out for 5,000. I'm offering 50. 50,000 for information, you son of a bitch. Or you die. Slow and hard.
The tattooing appeared on Foyle's face. He forced Forrest's head back into the water and held the struggling man. Robin tried to pull him off.
You're murdering him.
Foyle turned his terrifying face on Robin.
Get your hands off me. Who is aboard with you, Forrest? Who gave the order? Why?
Forrest twisted his head out of the water.
12 of us on Vorga. Christ, save me. There was me and Kemp.
He jerked spasmodically and sagged. Foyle pulled his body out of the surf.
Go on. You and who? Kemp? Who else? Talk!
There was no response. Foyle examined the body.
Dead.
Oh my God, my God!
One lead shot to hell, just when he was opening up. What a damn break.
He took a deep breath and drew calm about him like an iron cloak. The tattooing disappeared from his face. He adjusted his watch for 120 degrees east longitude.
Almost midnight in Shanghai. Let's go. Maybe we'll have better luck with Sonia Orel, pharmacist's maid off the Vorga. Don't look so scared. This is only the beginning. Go, girl, jaunt.
Robin gasped. He saw that she was staring over his shoulder with an expression of incredulity. Foyle turned. A flaming figure loomed on the beach, a huge man with burning clothes and a hideously tattooed face. It was himself.
Christ!
Foyle took a step toward his burning image, and abruptly it was gone. He turned to Robin, ashen and trembling.
Did you see that?
Yes.
What was it?
You.
For God's sake, me? How is that possible? How?
It was you.
But
He faltered. The strength and furious possession drained out of him.
was it illusion? Hallucination?
I don't know. I saw it too.
Christ almighty. To see yourself face to face. The clothes were on fire. Did you see that? What in God's name was it?
It was Gully Foyle, burning in hell.
All right. It was me in hell. But I'm still going through with it. If I burn in hell, Vorga'll burn with me.
He pounded his palms together, stinging himself back to strength and purpose.
I'm still going through with it, by God. Shanghai next. Jaunt.
At the costume ball in Shanghai, Fourmyle of Ceres electrified society by appearing as Death in Durer's Death and the Maiden, with a dazzling blonde creature clad in transparent veils. A Victorian society which stifled its women in purdah and which regarded the 1920 gowns of the Pinamunda clan as excessively daring, was shocked, despite the fact that Robin Wensbury was chaperoning the pair. But when Fourmyle revealed that the female was a magnificent android, there was an instant reversal of opinion in his favor. Society was delighted with the deception. The naked body, shameful in humans, was merely a sexless curiosity in androids. At midnight, Fourmyle auctioned off the android to the gentlemen of the ball.
The money to go to charity for a mile?
Certainly not. You know my slogan, not 1 cent for entropy. Do I hear 100 credits for this expensive and lovely creature? 100, gentlemen. She's all beauty and highly adaptable. 2, thank you. 3.5, thank you. I'm bid 5, 8, thank you. Any more bids for this remarkable product of the resident genius of the Mile Circus? She walks, she talks, she adapts. She's been conditioned to respond to the highest bidder. 9, do I hear any more bids? Are you all done? Are you all through? Sold to Lord Yale for 900 credits.
Tumultuous applause and appalled ciphering.
An android like that must have cost 90,000. How can he afford it?
Will you turn the money over to the android, Lord Yale? She will respond suitably. Until we meet again in Rome, ladies and gentlemen, the Borghese Palace at midnight. Happy New Year!
Fourmyle had already departed when Lord Yale discovered, to the delight of himself and the other bachelors, that a double deception had been perpetrated. The android was, in fact, a living human creature, all beauty and highly adaptable. She responded magnificently to 900 credits. The trick was the smoking room story of the year. The stags waited eagerly to congratulate Fourmyle. But Foyle and Robin Wensbury were passing under a sign that read, "Double your jaunting or double your money back" in 7 languages, and entering the emporium of Dr. Sonia Aurel, celestial enlarger of cranial capabilities. The waiting room was decorated with lurid brain charts demonstrating how Dr. Aurel poulticed, cupped, balsamed, and electrolyzed the brain into double its capacity or double your money back. She also doubled your memory with antifebrile purgatives, magnified your morals with tonic roborants, and adjusted all anguished psyches with Aurel's epilotic vulnerary. The waiting room was empty. Foyle opened a door at a venture. He and Robin had a glimpse of a long hospital ward. Foyle grunted in disgust.
Snow joint. Might have known she'd be running a dive for sickheads, too.
This den catered to disease collectors, the most hopeless of neurotic addicts. They lay in their hospital beds, suffering mildly from illegally induced parameasles, paraflu, paramalaria, devotedly attended by nurses in starched white uniforms and avidly enjoying their illegal illness and the attention it brought.
Look at them. Disgusting. If there's anything filthier than a religion junkie, it's a disease bird.
Good evening.
A voice spoke behind them. Foyle shut the door and turned. Dr. Sophia Orell bowed. The good doctor was crisp and sterile in the classic white cap, gown, and surgical mask of the medical clans, to which she belonged by fraudulent assertion only. She was short, swarthy, and olive-eyed, recognizably Russian by her name alone. More than a century of jaunting had so mingled the many populations of the world that racial types were disappearing.
Didn't expect to find you open for business on New Year's Eve.
Our Russian New Year comes 2 weeks later. A step this way, please.
She pointed to a door and disappeared with a pop. The door revealed a long flight of stairs. As Foyle and Robin started up the stairs, Dr. Orell appeared above them.
This way, please. Oh, one moment.
She disappeared and appeared again behind them.
You forgot to close the door.
She shut the door and jaunted again. This time she reappeared high at the head of the stairs.
In here, please.
Showing off. Double your jaunting or double your money back. All the same, she's pretty fast. I'll have to be faster.
They entered the consultation room. It was a glass-roofed penthouse. The walls were lined with gaudy but antiquated medical apparatus, a sedative bath machine, an electric chair for administering shock treatment to schizophrenics, an EKG analyzer for tracing psychotic patterns, old optical and electronic microscopes. The quack waited for them behind her desk. She jaunted to the door, closed it, jaunted back to her desk, bowed, indicated chairs, jaunted behind Robin's and held it for her, jaunted to the window and adjusted the shade, jaunted to the light switch and adjusted the lights, then reappeared behind her desk. She smiled.
1 year ago, I could not jaunt at all. Then I discovered the secret, the salutiferous abstersive, which...
Foyle touched his tongue to the switchboard wired into the nerve endings of his teeth. He accelerated. He arose without haste, stepping to the slow-motion figure behind the desk, took out a heavy sap, and scientifically smote Orell across the brow, concussing the frontal lobes and stunning the jaunt center. He picked the quack up and strapped her into the electric chair. All this took approximately 5 seconds. To Robin Wensbury, it was a blur of motion. Foyle decelerated. The quack opened her eyes, stirred, discovered where she was, and started in anger and perplexity.
You're Sophia Orell, pharmacist's mate off the Vorga. You were aboard the Vorga on September 16, 2436.
The anger and perplexity turned to terror.
On September 16, you passed a wreck out near the asteroid belt. It was the wreck of the Nomad. She signaled for help and Vorga passed her by. You left her to drift and die. Why?
Orell rolled her eyes, but did not answer.
Who gave the order to pass me by? Who was willing to let me rot and die?
Orell began to gibber.
Who was aboard Vorga? Who shipped with you? Who was in command? I'm going to get an answer. Don't think I'm not. I'll buy it or tear it out of you. Why was I left to die? Who told you to let me die?
Aurel screamed.
I cannot talk about. Wait, I'll tell.
She sagged. Foyle examined the body.
Dead. Just when she was ready to talk. Just like Forrest.
Murdered.
No, I never touched her. It was suicide.
Foyle cackled without humor.
You're insane.
No, amused. I didn't kill them. I forced them to kill themselves.
What nonsense is this?
They've been given sympathetic blocks. You know about SPs? Intelligence uses them for espionage agents. Take a certain body of information you don't want told. Link it with the sympathetic nervous system that controls automatic respiration and heartbeat. As soon as the subject tries to reveal that information, the block comes down. The heart and lungs stop. The man dies. Your secret's kept. An agent doesn't have to worry about killing himself to avoid torture. It's been done for him.
It was done to these two?
Obviously.
But why?
How do I know? Refugee running isn't the answer. Vorga must have been operating worse rackets than that to take this precaution. But we got a problem. Our last lead is Paggi in Rome. Angelo Paggi, chef's assistant off the Vorga. How are we going to get information out of him without...
He broke off. His image stood before him, silent, ominous, face burning blood red, clothes flaming. Foyle was paralyzed. He took a breath and spoke in a shaking voice.
Who are you? What are you...
The image disappeared. Foyle turned to Robin, moistening his lips.
Did you see it?
Her expression answered him.
What was it?
She pointed to Sophia Aurel's desk, alongside which the image had stood. Papers on the desk had caught fire and were burning briskly. Foyle backed away, still frightened and bewildered. He passed a hand across his face. It came away wet. Robin rushed to the desk and tried to beat out the flames. She picked up wads of paper and letters and slammed helplessly. Foyle did not move.
I can't stop it. We've got to get out of here.
Foyle nodded, then pulled himself together with power and resolution.
Rome. We jaunt to Rome. There's got to be some explanation for this. I'll find it, by God. And in the meantime, I'm not quitting. Rome, go girl, jaunt!
End of episode 10.